Hey, let's get back to North Korea and bring in Senator Lucas Strange, a member of the Armed Services Committee. Just have to ask you, sir, what should our response at this point be?
Well, I think we still have to pursue the diplomatic avenues, and I'm glad to see Secretary of State Tillerson coming out with a very strong statement in that regard. But I can tell you, as a member of the Armed Services Committee, we cannot and will not allow North Korea to have a nuclear weapon or the capability of delivering it. So that was troubling what we saw yesterday, and I'm glad to see our diplomatic efforts stepped up.
Speaking of troubling, though, I was somewhat shocked at a joint communique with Russia and China, to a large degree, wagging their fingers at America, saying, hey, you know what, maybe if you stop with the ships and the war games, the pressure will alleviate itself. I mean, I don't like the idea that we're being cobbled in with North Korea in this situation.
I agree with you completely, and that's why I'm anxiously watching to see how the president does in his upcoming meeting with the world leaders. It's going to be a very critical time to send a message that this can't not continue in the direction it's been going.
Okay, sir, I want to ask you about the health care reform. You say this is no time to take a break. Any progress with respect to, hey, getting everyone to commit to at least getting rid of the August recess?
Well, I think we're getting there. I joined with 9 other of my colleagues, sent a letter to the leader, Mitch McConnell, and said we cannot be taking a vacation or a break in August if we haven't done the people's work. Of course, that starts with repeal and replace, and I'm still optimistic that the negotiations are proceeding and we'll have something to vote on when we get back. But if we don't, we've got to work through the recess, because taxes are waiting and other key priorities of the president's, and we've got to do our work.
You know, it felt like the Senate bill was done behind closed doors. Even some of the folks who were part of this committee said they were shut out from key discussions and final decisions on this. Should there be a more transparent process as we go forward on this?
I think there will be a more transparent process. I've been in the Senate now for 5 months, taking my friend Jeff Sessions' place. There have been 7 years of negotiations and talks about repealing and replacing, so it's not as if the issues haven't been discussed. A working draft had to be produced, which it was. Now we're refining it. It will be public, I hope, when we get back on the 10th, and we'll move quickly to get a bill passed.
Last one for you, Senator. Food stamp rolls have plummeted in states that require work requirements. That includes your state, your home state of Alabama. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm all about finding incentives to encourage able-bodied people to go out and find work. If you give something away and people don't have to earn it, it's usually not a good way to develop independence. So I'm all for means testing and requiring people who are able-bodied and can work to go to work, so that the benefits will really go to the people who need it, the most deserving people in our society who maybe can't work or can't afford the basic necessities.
Yeah, you know, my mom was born and raised in Alabama. I've spent a lot of time there, and few years ago, I was out riding a bike, and I was shocked at how many able-bodied 20-year-old men, muscle-bound men, sitting on porches listening to music. I mean, they're getting paid not to work. And when your state wanted to enforce one of the toughest illegal immigration laws in the country, businesses begged you to stop because they had no one to work the catfish farms. They had no one to work the factories. I mean, we can't pay people not to work, can we?
We're creating, unfortunately, under our incentives we've been living with, an incentive not to work. And it's crazy because we have plenty of jobs that are going begging. So I spend a lot of my time, and I did as Attorney General, finding ways to get these able-bodied people into the workforce. We could talk about the disability programs that are being so abused, things that ultimately, when you think about it, hurt the most needy people in our society. So it's a real problem in every state.
Yeah, we need to check those crazy checks. Sir, thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it.